Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good morning, everyone. Today we continue our course, Introduction to Literature, English Literature. Last time we covered part A of the drama course, and we continue today with the rest of definitions that you are supposed to know. And then we are going to apply this to one act play next week, inshallah. So among the important definitions in drama is the word plot. So there are a number of definitions for the word plot. In One World of Literature, the author Charlie Geek Lin Lim compiles the following definitions of plot from different scholars, which I believe will give you a broader view of the plot. So we can define plot as the organization of action was traditionally conceived as a sequence of important moments arranged chronologically with an introduction, series of complications intensifying the conflict, a climax clinching the fate of the central characters, a resolution, and a denouement that concludes and summarizes the issues. So, in a plot is a sort of a story, but it's more complicated than a story. How in Arabic we translate the word plot as al-habka, okay? So and it's different, a bit different from a story, which is al-qissa. I can give you examples to differentiate between a plot and a story. If I say the president, if I say the wife of the president died, okay? So this is a sort of a story. But if I say the president was sad because his wife died, now we have a plot because we have this kind of causality. We have something happen, and this thing leads to or causes another thing to happen. So if you have this relationship of causality between events, then you have a good plot. So without this causality, it's just a story. Like I say, I went to the university, then I went to the library, then I went back home, I studied my lessons, and then I got my dinner and I slept. This is a story. But if you say, I went to the university, and because my professor asked me to write an assignment or a research, I visited the library to collect the books. I took these books. I went back home to get some quiet time reading. So now you get this kind of plot because there are relationships between the events, and it's a relationship of causality. You went to the library because the professor asked you to write a research. So in a plot, we organize the action in such a way so that we have this kind of chronological order. Chronological means تاريخي، ترتيب زمني، والأحداث مترتبة على بعضها. So we have an introduction, then we have complications, things get complicated, and we intensify the conflict. الصراع اللي هو سواء هذا الصراع external conflict between characters or internal conflict within or inside just one character. And then things get a climax, and this climax at the end is resolved, and we have resolution and denouement, the conclusion of the play. So this is one definition. Another definition of a plot is the organization of a series of action or events, usually moving through conflicts to a climax and resolution. And it's similar like the previous one. The arrangement often implies causality. And here we have the word causality. This is a very important word, and achieves certain effects. So this causality means from the word qaws, sababiyya, علاقة sababiyya, between events. one event causes other events to occur or to happen as a consequence. So this causality achieves certain effects, results. Plot can also be defined as it's not just a summary of the incidents of a play. If it is just a summary, this is a story or a summary of a story. But that it also refers to the organization of all elements into a meaningful pattern. So we need this kind of organization between elements. The elements should not just be there one after another. They should be tied together. There should be a bond between them. So the overall structure of the, and this is otherwise also called, or in other words, the overall structure of the البنية بنية النص المسرحي. Okay. So here we should know the difference between plot and story. Plot in Arabic, we call it al-habka, story al-qissa. Some people confuse plot with story, but we need to differentiate between these two terminologies. To them, plot means a story which the play tells. It is therefore necessary at this point to make the distinction between plot and story, because there is a difference, so that you will not fall into the same error. What is a story? A story, as you know, is a series of incidents whose development does not necessarily depend on each other. عندي مجموعة أحداث مش شرط تكون مرتبطة الواحدة بالأخرى, which means that the incidents may or may not be related or connected. Okay, so if you have a number of events, مجموعة أحداث or incidents, and there is no relationship between these incidents, this is just a story. On the other hand, the word plot is the way the story is arranged, and it thrives on causality and logical unity. Okay, so this is a key word in the definition of plot: causality, سببية, and logical unities, وحدة منطقية. One incident leads to another. In it, one incident happens, and as a result, the next one happens, and the situations must be related to each other. Related, يعني they are connected to each other. So the plot has a beginning, بيكون ليه بداية, a middle, and an end, اللي هو resolution. A beginning gives rise to the middle, which in turn raises the dramatic question that is answered in the end, thus completing what was started in the beginning. So this is how we should understand the meaning of the word or the term plot. Now we move to the parts of plot. ايه هي أجزاء الplot? In a plot, we should have exposition, means the introduction, the beginning. It introduces important information about a story's setting, the characters, the initial conflict of the plot. It is usually found in the opening scenes and can be expressed through character dialogue, flashbacks, thoughts, or narrator giving background. So the exposition is what we have in the beginning about the introduction, about the setting or the characters or the conflict. And this is revealed to us through the dialogue or flashback or the ideas, thoughts, or somebody telling us something, a narrator giving the background on the action. And then we have a climax. The thing is getting complicated because we have a conflict here. We reach a crisis or the peak of the crisis. And that calls for a resolution or denouement, the conclusion. But the word denouement sounds like French, means the conclusion. This is the last part of a play, where facts are revealed, discoveries are made, and the problem is resolved. So this is a typical order of the parts of plot. So if I ask you about the parts of plot, أجزاء الplot, So you should remember these terminology. Exposition, climax, denouement. So easy and simple. Okay, so now we should know what is a plot, definition of plot, a number of definitions, the difference between a plot and a story, uh, and the parts of the plot, أجزاء plot. Now we move to the types of plot, أنواع plot. Okay, it seems that we have more than one type of plot. So there are different types of plots, and each is designed for a particular purpose. So some plots, for example, are designed to achieve tragic effect. Others, the effects of comedy, satire, or romance. And these are types of plays يعني. يبقى البلوت بيتناسب مع نوع المسرحية. However, all plays do not have what we might call good plots. مش كل المسرحيات، ليس كل المسرحيات يتواجد فيها good plot جيد. Some of them suffer from the um, uh, the existence of a poor plot, for example. That is with the beginning, middle, and end. So this is a good plot. If it has a beginning, a middle, and end, this is we call normally a good plot. We have different types of plots. What are these types? We have single plot and multiple plot. So what is a single plot? And what is a multiple plot? In a single plot, a single plot could be defined as short, a short plot that concentrates on the fortunes and misfortunes of the main characters. بيكون عندي حبكة واحدة في المسرح بتركز على الشخصيات الرئيسية. Okay, so the fortunes and misfortunes of the main characters. This is we call it a single plot. So if you watch or read a play that only focuses on the main characters, this means that you have a single plot here. In a multiple plot, it comprises a main plot. Usually in a multiple plot, we have a main plot with main characters and a subplot which deals with the other characters. بيكون عندي المين plot والsubplot في المultiple plot. The main plot naturally deals with the main characters. بينما بيكون in the same play في حاجة تانية اسمها subplot قصة فرعية which deals with the other secondary characters. So types of plot, single plot, multiple plot. In the multiple plot, we have main plot and subplot. We now move to the term theme. Theme, the word theme means idea, the main idea or the controlling idea in a play. The word theme is not just in plays. You may find it in a poem when you study poetry or in novels as well. If you're studying a novel, so you have to see the themes of the novel. But also we find it in drama. So each play should have a theme or themes, a number of themes. What is a theme? Is a controlling idea in a play, or the main idea in a play, which the reader extracts consciously as he or she reads the text. It could be literal or symbolic. Literal يعني the idea is explained to you بشكل حرفي مباشر direct أو symbolic يعني بشكل indirect أو بشكل رمزي غير مباشر أو رمزي. It is that idea or message which the playwright or the dramatist wants to share with or convey to the audience. In most cases, the theme emerges after the exploration of the entire play. Usually you reach or you discover the theme or themes of the play after you finish watching it or reading it. Some plays have more than one theme, okay? The major one, the major theme, which stands out is the main theme. We call it the main theme. So we have a main character, we have a main theme, we have a main plot. main يعني رئيسي، ده بيركز على الشخصيات الرئيسية، أو it's in the foreground، في الصدارة يعني. The main theme هنا بيكون فكرة رئيسية. While the others are called the sub-themes, like the subplot. These are usually less important themes. In the analysis of a play, so when you analyze a play, the first issue that comes to mind is the theme. We think about the ideas which the author or the dramatist wants to convey to us as readers. What is behind this play? What are the ideas which the author wants to convey or wants to hammer home? Theme is the main idea in a play that permeates the entire play. It's there. You will find this idea throughout the whole play. How do you identify the theme of it? How do you know it? Themes are identified through the dialogue. So when we listen to the dialogue, we discover that the characters are talking about something, about an idea. We can also know from the actions what the characters do and manifestations in the action of the major characters as they interact with other characters in the play. So when the characters deal with one another, we discover what they want to tell us. The interpersonal relationships of the characters help to highlight and advance that particular idea. The themes in drama include من ضمن الثيمز اللي هي الشائعة في الدراما. The common themes are examples of common themes like corruption, love, revenge, and many others. So these are the type of themes that you may see especially in traditional drama, ancient Greek and Shakespearean dramas, for example. So the theme is the message which the playwright wants to send across to his audience. And a play could have more than one theme, as we said. You could have a main theme and a sub-theme. The playwright could draw his germinal idea from an incident or event in his contemporary society. It could also be drawn from history, legend, myth, or folklore. These are the sources of his idea. But the important factor is that there is a message he sends to the audience. Now we move to the term setting. What is a setting? In poetry as well, when we say the setting of a poem, like what is the time and the place. Setting is a place or the historical time where or when the action of the play takes place. بمعنى إنه a certain writer may write a play now, so it's contemporary, but he's talking about something that happened thousands of years ago in a remote place. So this would be the setting. So the time here, what is meant by time here is the time in which the action of the play happened or occurs. It doesn't mean the time in which the playwright wrote his play. No, the time of the action of the play. وقت حدوث حدث الأحداث اللي في المسرحية نفسها في النص المسرحي وليس وقت كتابة النص المسرحي. بمعنى إنه ممكن يكون في كاتب حديث يعيش في معاصر لنا الآن ولكن يكتب مسرحية تعود أو حبكتها أو قصتها تعود لعصور قديمة في مكان بعيد. So in this case, what is meant by the setting is the historical time and the place in which the action of the play occurs. When you analyze a play, the setting is also discussed. Setting could be a tribe, a village, a town, or a country, depending on the disposition of the player. مكان الحدث ممكن يكون small village or a big town or a small country or a big country. It depends. The setting in terms of time, period, or locale can be mentioned, implied, or alluded to in the text. بالنسبة لوقت أو تاريخ حدوث الأحداث, this could be a period, فترة زمنية. It could be mentioned, it could be implied, it could be alluded to. When it comes to time and place, we should go back to Aristotle's definition. The three unities, the unity of time, unity of place, unity of action. الثلاث وحدات خاصة بالمسرحية الجيدة. That Aristotle, he is an ancient Greek philosopher, and he wrote a book called the Poetica, فن الشعر, in which he described the good tragedy, and he said that a good tragedy should include three unities, should preserve or respect the three units. So what are these three unities? The unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. What the meaning of unity of time? That the action should not exceed 24 hours. Unity of place, that the action should happen in a place or in two places, the distance between them should not be more than 24 hours. And action, that a good tragedy should only have one main plot, just one plot. Okay, another term that is important when we study drama is conflict. Conflict, the idea of conflict, صراع. A conflict is defined as any struggle between opposing forces. صراع بين قوتين مختلفتين أو متعارضتين. These forces could be people, could be ideas, could be ideologies, could be theories, could be anything. المهم إنه في النهاية في أفكار أو أشخاص متعارضين. Usually the main character struggles against some other force. Conflict is the heart of all drama. Without a conflict, there's no drama. We need conflict in drama. For good drama to happen, there should be a conflict. Nothing moves forward in a story except through conflict. This shows you how important a conflict is. When we studied the definition of plot, we saw this word, conflict. A good plot should include a conflict. We have types of conflict. Of course, we have two types of conflicts. We have an internal conflict, صراع داخلي, يعني يكون داخل الشخصية ذاتها. The struggle occurring within a character's mind. ده بيكون داخل الشخصية. يعني for example عندنا مسرحية لشكسبير called Hamlet. So in Hamlet is torn between doing and not doing. So he's hesitant. متردد. في صراع داخلي جوه. Should he kill his uncle or not? Or he should not kill him. So there is a conflict inside Hamlet. Okay, we call this internal conflict. So Hamlet's case is a famous example of, or a well-known example of an internal conflict. The dilemma posed by an internal conflict is usually some ethical or emotional question. بيكون في قضية أخلاقية أو خاصة بعواطف البطل. Indicators of internal conflict would be a character's hesitation. فكرة التردد. To be or not to be. Or self-posing questions like, what was it I did wrong? So an internal conflict can also be a decision-making issue. Okay, so it has to do with the قرار البطل نفسه. Should he take a certain decision and execute it? Or he keeps hesitant? He keeps being hesitant. So this is an internal conflict. The second type of a conflict is the external conflict. This is a struggle in which a character is grappling some force outside of him or herself, such as wars. So if one character is fighting against another forces or another character, this is called external conflict. This is usually the most common type of conflict in which we find a good character, for example, fighting evil characters, or two characters fighting each other, or two tribes or two groups of people fighting each other. We call this external conflict. Another important definition is accessories. So what is accessories in drama? Accessories. These are elements to help convey, clarify, and deepen the message of the play. So it's an umbrella term, يعني مصطلح broad term. مصطلح مظلي يعني يسع مصطلحات أخرى تحتي, such as songs. So we call songs accessories. We call dancing accessories. We call sound effects accessories. We call lighting accessories. So these things are accessories, أشياء بتساعد يعني مساعدة. Elements to help convey or clarify and deepen the meaning. أشياء تؤكد على المعنى, تساعد في توصيل المعنى. We call it accessories. Right, now we come to the types of drama. So when you study drama, you should be aware of these types. As we did in poetry, we studied the types of poetry like narrative poetry, epic, lyric poetry. We also have types in drama. And you may be more familiar with these types because you know that people use this language in TV dramas, in journals. They say this even in everyday language. This is the first type is tragedy. A tragedy or a comedy or a tragicomedy. So we have these three main types of drama. A tragedy, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is a play of a serious or solemn kind. Very sad event, action or experience. من المصطلح حتى انه بنسميها تراجيديا. تراجيديا يعني شيء حزين. So it's a play of a serious or solemn kind. موضوع فيها يكون فيه جدية, جاد. Okay? There's no comedy here. ما فيش ضحك. بتنعدم النكات, تنعدم السلوكيات الخفيفة الظل. Because it's a serious matter. And in tragedy, we're talking about death, revenge, wars. Okay? So a tragedy is a branch of drama that treats in a serious and defined style the sorrowful or terrible events, أحداث محزنة أو حزينة أو فظيعة encountered or caused by a heroic individual. بيكون عندي hero, and this hero may do something wrong and is going to suffer for that. Its incidents arouse pity and fear. So in traditional drama, you as a member of the audience, you should feel pity. تشعر بالشفقة على البطل because he's going to suffer a lot for what he did. And fear, تشعر بالخوف من احتمالية الوقوف مكان أو أنك تفعل مثل ما فعل البطل. So you should fear. You say, no, I'm not going to do what he did because this is too much. I can't bear it. So you feel fearful of that action. Wherewith to accomplish a catharsis of these emotions. Catharsis يعني تطهير, ده مصطلح خاص في الدراما. It refers to the purification of the emotions of pity and fear. So, this is a definition of tragedy according to Aristotle in his Poetics, كتاب فن الشعر اللي كتبه Aristotle. He defined tragedy as thus. Tragedy is an imitation of an action. You remember the idea of mimesis? اتكلمنا عنها في المحاضرة. Mimesis أو imitation, محاكاة. So tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious. بتحاكي حدث بيكون جاد, complete, مكتمل, and of a certain magnitude, حدث له أهمية. In language embellished with each kind of artistic ornament. لغة التراجيديا بتكون لغة بليغة. The several kinds of being found in several parts of the play. Okay, we have characters, we have themes, we have the things we talked about. In the form, not from. in the form of action, not of narrative. Okay. In tragedy, we don't have somebody just telling us a story, but we have action enacted on the stage through pity and fear. So we have these two emotions affecting a proper purgation, here purification of these emotions. So you should keep this definition by heart. This is a traditional definition of tragedy proposed by Aristotle in his book Poetics, فن الشعر. Tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of a certain meaning. Imitation يعني mimesis، يعني فكرة التقليد. بتقدم لنا عمل يقلد ما يحدث في الواقع، يحاكي حدث في الواقع، يكون هذا الحدث سيريس، حدث جاد وليس كوميك يعني، ويكون complete مكتمل، يعني في beginning middle end، الحدث مكتمل and of a certain magnitude، حدث ذو أهمية. عشان كده بنلاقي البطل the hero in the traditional ancient Greek drama or Shakespearean drama بيكون of a noble status, of a high status in society. It could be a king, a prince, a nobleman, a hero, a military leader, okay, a certain magnitude. What he does could affect the whole society. So, and the language in which the tragedy is written should be embellished with decorated, يعني with each kind of artistic ornaments. لغة بليغة, rhetorical, لغة serious, لغة شعرية, poetic, فيها بلاغة. The several kinds of being found in several parts of the play. In the form of action, not of narrative. We don't have narration. It's not like a novel. إنه في حد بيحكي لنا القصة. No, we know the story from the action. من خلال ما تفعله الشخصيات والحوار الدائر بينهم, we know the plot, we know the story. Through pity and fear, and these emotions are very important. Pity and fear. Pity يعني الشفقة. مين اللي بيشعر بالشفقة؟ We, the audience, احنا الجمهور. ليه بنشعر بالشفقة؟ لأنه البطل بيعاني معاناة أو شديدة جراء ما فعله أو ما ارتكبه. بيكون ارتكب خطأ بسيط ولكن هذا الخطأ يدفع ثمنه غاليا. That's why we feel pity. نشعر بالشفقة. انت امتى بتشعر بالشفقة الإنسان؟ لما يكون جزاؤه أكتر من الخطأ اللي هو ارتكبه. So you feel pity. طيب يعني ايه نشعر بالخوف؟ بالفير. بنشعر بالخوف ان احنا ما نكونش مكانه. اوكي. علشان كده هم كانوا بيستعملوا التراجيديا في المجتمعات القديمة كنوع من مش بس الانترتينمنت ولكن education، يعلموا الناس الفضيلة انه يتجنبوا الاخطاء عن طريق توعيتهم عن توعية المجتمع من خلال التراجيديا. Okay. Tragedy. So in drama, tragedy is a serious play, مسرحية جاد, that deals with the misfortunes of man. So what is the subject matter? ايه هو موضوع التراجيديا؟ misfortunes، معاناة، بؤس of man. من هنا اللي هو الإنسان حسب الشخصية، هل هو امرأة، رجل، البطل يعني. It presents a man, so a tragic hero. He could be a woman, by the way, but it presents a man or a woman, tragic hero or heroine, who is not too virtuous or too vicious. بيكون لا هو عنده فضيلة عالية جدا مثالي ولا هو شخص شرير. حد somebody like us، يعني حد يكون طبيعي، إنسان طبيعي. But one who aspires for higher ideals. He tries to improve himself and the world around him. In the course of this, he makes a mistake or commits an error of judgment. بنسميه misjudgment. سوء في التقدير أو سوء في الحكم. So he does a mistake, and this mistake leads to his fall. تؤدي إلى سقوط. And before his fall, of course, there's suffering. بيكون في معاناة. He doesn't just fall, but he suffers. Traditionally, in classical tragedies, the hero must be of noble birth. بيكون شخص من علية القوم. Suffer، بيعاني أو يدفع ثمن ما ارتكبه. And is overwhelmed in the end. في النهاية بيسقط. It ends with his death يعني. Tragedy presents injustice. دايما بنلاقي الأشياء هذه في التراجيديا. Injustice. عدم العدالة، انعدام العدالة، evil الشر، pain الألم، misfortunes البؤس والمعاناة، paradoxes تناقضات, and mysterious aspects of human experience. So these are the things that are available in tragedy. The second type of drama is comedy. And I don't like to define comedy as the opposite of tragedy. مو شرط انه يكون عكس التراجيديا يعني بس ولكن it's different. Comedy is a deliberate presentation of events, experience drawn from real life, but not the same with real life. هي أشياء برضو تجارب مأخوذة من الحياة يعني فيها imitation but not the same with real life. بس ليست a typical image of life. We should therefore not expect dramatic comedy to be the same as real life. It's an imitation, not exactly the same. Okay, what do we have in comedy? We have good endings, نهايات سعيدة, or resolutions. على عكس التراجيديا اللي هي بتنتهي بالمعاناة والموت. So, when a play ends happily, we refer to it as comedy. يبقى احنا هنحدد مش هنحدد يعني من معايير التفريق بين الكوميديا والتراجيديا معيار أساسي هو النهاية. In a tragedy, the play ends sadly, but in a comedy, the play ends happily. In most comedies, the principal characters begin in a state of opposition either to one another or to their world or both. بيكون في نوع من التعارض بين الشخصيات، بيبقى شخصية موجودة ونقيض الشخصية دي عشان نشوف الطرافة أو الكوميديا. يعني بنلاقي شخص عاقل جدا وشخص تاني فول، فنقدر من خلال وجود الشخص العاقل تنكشف غباء الشخص الآخر اللي احنا المفروض هنضحك عليه. By the end of the play, their opposition is replaced by harmony. بيبقى في نوع من الانسجام في النهاية. Aristotle in his Poetics insisted that in tragedy men are shown better than they are. في التراجيديا عشان بيكون في تضحية sacrifice وكده، فالإنسان بيقدم في المسرحية better than they are. أفضل مما هو موجود في الطبيعة. While in comedy worse than they are. بيقدم الإنسان بشكل تحكمي so that we can laugh at. وبيقدم بشكل أسوأ مما هو في الطبيعة. Okay. For him, for Aristotle, it is an artistic imitation of men of inferior or moral bent. في الكوميديا اليونانية الشخصيات اللي بتقدم بتكون شخصيات وضيعة إلى حد ما أخلاقية. Not in every way, but only in so far as their shortcomings, يعني عيوبهم, their shortcomings are ludicrous. Ludicrous يعني فيها شيء من السخافة. These shortcomings cause, this is one word by the way, cause no pain. طبعا ما فيش suffering, ما فيش pain. وإلا لو في suffering و pain هيبقى دي سمة من سمات التراجيديا وليست الكوميديا. So العيوب اللي هنا cause no pain، لا تسبب أي suffering. ولكن العيوب اللي في التراجيديا اللي هو الميس جادجمنت بيؤدي إلى ارتكاب أخطاء ومن ثم بيكون في suffering. But here we don't have pain or suffering because it's a comedy. The third type، طبعا التراجيديا والكوميديا كانوا the two main types of drama in ancient Greek history. وكانوا they respect the separation between tragedy and comedy. يعني الكاتب اللي يكتب تراجيديا في اليونان القديمة لا يكتب كوميديا. يعني إما أن الكاتب أن يكون تراجيديا يعني يكتب التراجيديات ويتخصص فيها زي سوفوكليس الكاتب اللي كتب أوديبوس ريكس وكتب أنتيغوني، أو الكاتب يتخصص في الكوميديا ويكتب كوميديات ولا يقترب من التراجيديا فيكون كوميديان، كاتب كوميدي زي بلوتوس مثلا. إلى أن جاء شكسبير ومزج، لم يحترم هذا الفصل بين الكوميديا والتراجيديا ومزج بين الكوميديا والتراجيديا وسماها تراجي كوميدي. يعني ليه مسرحيات تجمع بين التراجيديا والكوميديا. How? You have seen that tragedy is a serious play. احنا قلنا التراجيديا هي مسرحية جاد that ends on a sad note. بتنتهي نهاية حزينة. While comedy ends happily. إنما الكوميديا بتنتهي نهاية سعيدة. In traditional tragedy, التراجيديا التقليدية اللي بيحصل playwrights are not allowed to bring in any comic action. التراجيديا تخلو من أي حدث فكاهي أو كوميدي. طيب على سبيل المثال if you read Oedipus Rex Oedipus Rex هي الكينج أوديبوس يعني دي تراجيديا يونانية كتبها سوفوكليس. If you read it you will observe that the atmosphere is tense from the beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end we don't have any comic elements in this tragedy. As time went on وبمرور الوقت اللي حصل even from the Elizabethan period اللي هو الفترة اللي عاش فيها شكسبير comic characters were included in tragic plays. بدأ يظهر شخصيات كوميدية حتى في التراجيديا. And we call, and this is a phenomenon in drama called comic relief. Comic relief يعني التراجيديا بتكون so intense بيضطروا يقدموا بعض كده العناصر الكوميدية البسيطة في التراجيديا علشان يعملوا كوميك ريليف يعني عشان الناس ما يحصل لهاش نوع من الحزن الشديد. وإلى أن تطورت الأمور وبدأ يخلط شكسبير بين التراجيديا والكوميديا وسماها tragicomedy. So a tragicomedy is a play that mixes both comic and tragic elements in equal proportion of each. بيكون في نوع من المزج أو الخلط بعناصر مناسبة من التراجيديا. It is therefore elicits both tragic and comic emotion. ولكن التراجيكوميدي يعني for example we have death but people do not die. They have the experience of death. They see death in the eye but they do not die. بيشوفوا الموت لكنهم لا يموتون يعني بيموتوا تجربة على حافة الموت ولكن الشخصيات لا تموت. And the play ends happily. تراجيكوميدي برضو المسرحية بتنتهي بشكل سعيد بنهاية سعيدة. So these are the terms that we should be aware of. We should study them again. I'm going to PowerPoint presentation onto the Blackboard site for you. If you go to content, محتوى, we're going to find this lecture there for you to review again. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, you can email me or communicate with me on WhatsApp. Cheers.